Hi, friends. It's Aria from TLC Next Reveal. Welcome back to my channel. It's Saturday, May 3rd, 2025. On the most recent episode of Sister Wives, Kody Brown sat down with Robin, and they talked about, his relationship with his children and how they were improving. And recently on a Patreon, McKeely and Tony discussed this episode because they just watched it, and they said that while Kody's relationship at that point in time was improving, they stated that it's sort of deteriorated since they've moved out of the state of Utah and relocated to North Carolina, because much of Kody's communication with the rest of the family members was through McKeely and Tony. And when they took themselves out of having to be the go-betweens between not just Christine and Kody, but their siblings, Kody sort of gave up on some of it. And then when Garrison passed away, relationships with Kody fell apart and worsened. So forth. On the one hand, Kody is like, oh, everything is better. But then on the other hand, McKelty goes in real life. Things really haven't improved. And the only way that it will get better is if my dad actually takes responsibility for what he has done and said on the show, and the really horrible things that he has said about his children. And it would be then and only then that he would have an opportunity of repairing his relationships with his children that he is estranged from. But his estrangement is his own fault. It has nothing to do with the other women. It's his abusive language that he has used, the things that he has said about the children, and the way that he has portrayed them, that they have an issue with, and the disgusting things he has said about not only them, but their mothers.
I hate it. When my dad lumps all of his kids into one group and says like all of my kids blank, all of my kids, this my kids, all whatever, I hate it. I wish that he would distinguish between us all, but I think he does it to protect us. Even though he says really awful stuff sometimes, he doesn't want to, be singular in calling any of one of us out. So I think that's one of the reasons why he does that. But I do hope that through his healing, his acknowledgement that he was in a bad place, he really, 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 really hardcore works on having a better, stronger relationship with all of his kids. I think a lot of that will come from he has to acknowledge and he has to validate. I said these bad things, they were wrong, I am sorry, I take responsibility and accountability, I love you, let's continue to progress together. But no more, you can't shove it under, you can't, make peace and be happy, none of that. He has to implode all the relationships, dig deep, go through everything, and then work to build up. You gotta take it all down to build up stronger again,
So Kody in real time's relationship with his kids hasn't improved, and it's come almost worse since Garrison's death. So on that, Kody is clearly waving his red-white flag and realizing that he has no case when it comes to his daughter. Truly, because yesterday in Utah court, Kody Brown and Christine settled a settlement agreement for child support, and for compliance with child support and settlement terms are not now that we are in the public, and we do not know what the intentions are for moving forward here. But something changed between September and now, where Kody is no longer fighting Christine. When Christine filed her case against Kody in September, she filed for parenting time, child custody, and child support, and paternity. Kody then filed a countersuit against her, which everyone was like, why would Kody actually file a countersuit? He has no relationship with his daughter for real, and it just seemed mean-spirited and petty. And a lot of us, myself included, were like, well, he's doing this because my opinion was that he doesn't want to pay child support. That was my opinion. So yesterday, they filed a settlement agreement, and then Kody did a child support notification and statement of compliance. So what is this form? It has that Christine and Kody both needed to file the court pay-ubs from employers or 1099s. But they're getting paid, both of them. Christine and Kody had to provide a copy of their tax returns, and that needed to be filed to the court. And then they also needed to fill out a worksheet, which is attached to it, which was used to determine what the child support amount was. And it would be based on whether or not they're doing sole physical custody. joint physical custody, or split custody. And then the child support is based on uniform support guidelines, and they're basically stating that it's consistent with the child support guidelines of the state. So they're using the guidelines of the worksheet that the state has for how much he's gonna pay. As I already stated, I think the fact that Truly is 15 years old at this time, and the fact that she turned 15 in April, is a huge influence in this case, because Truly gets to have a say in where she wants to live, and Kody can struggle day after day and tell her that he wants to spend more time with her, but he needs to be able to prove that he's actually having an established relationship with her and knows her. And literally in this latest episode, he's talking about how he doesn't even have a relationship with his children because he's not in the houses with them, because all of that's through his wives or his ex-wives. And when he's talking about going to Utah, the reason why he's going there, obviously, is, one, it's to see McKeely, but it was to see his daughter, really, right? So if he's trying to say, like, I don't have a relationship with them because of Christine, it was like he was trying to make the argument that he had been estranged, and he was gonna try to use that in a child custody hearing. Like, Christine alienated me from these children, and that is why I do not have relationships. Well, the silly side of child custody and cases like these is once a child becomes a certain age, they are able to tell a judge what they wish and what they think and where they would to live. And I don't think the handwriting on the wall would have been in Kody's favor, because if this would have gone to trial, all of this would have been vastly ugly for him. There would have been all of the dirty laundry hanging out regarding how much of a non-sit here he has been in the life of his daughter. Truly, how she almost died under his supervision. How he did not cover the expenses of her insurance once she was in the hospital and almost died. How he basically left Christine once she was having that child, and Kody never got along with his daughter. Truly and truly has, for all intents and purposes, been very close to not only Christine, but her older sisters, both Aspen and McKelty. Both had a significant role in helping Christine with Truly when she was young, and then once Aspen and McKeely moved, the two older girls who were above Truly, Gwendolyn and Isabel, also played a significant role in helping Christine with Truly, and thus Truly has always had a very close relationship to her sisters. So it would be absurd to assume that a judge in this trial, if she wants to live with mom, she gets along with mom. She gets along with her stepfather. She has family. That's all in Utah. She's got Isabel. She has Aspen, who's honestly just announced her pregnancy. So Aspen and Mitch are having their first child. Aspen was on a local Fox network, talking about Mother's Day, and she was being interviewed by a local journalist, and she was revealing to them what Kendra Scott can offer mothers. But she announced that she was pregnant, expecting her first. So it would be like, it's like nearly her very first Mother's Day. She seemed to be really pretty far along, probably 6, 7 months. So hats off to me, Mitch, and Aspen. But the family dynamics here would be hard for Kody to overcome. And then coincidentally, in the same Patreon, McKeely and Tony talked about the fact that Kody barely ever comes to Utah. So presumably, the way that Tony described was that Robin places a lot of pressure on Kody and guilts him when he travels. And so when he travels, he can only spend a limited amount of time. And he called it like the cost of traveling. So Robin places these, like, guilts him and makes him feel bad and makes him feel like he almost will get punished if he does this too often, and because she would be then at home with her kids. But this is what you signed up for, Robin, when you married a man that had children with other women, whatever. That's a story for another day. But the way that they made it seem was that Kody really doesn't see Truly that much, maybe a couple times a year. And it was almost always facilitated through someone else, so he depended on his other children to try to intermediate so that he could see Truly and that the relationship he has with Truly isn't very close. And then they asked them, Ariella got this, vanity. And it was this big gift that she got for the Valentine's Day. And they asked them, did Truly get something like that? And they said, no, Truly got something like that, nothing. They don't even know if Truly got phone call or even a card. And McKeely also explained that this idea that they did big Valentine's Day presents is a lie. She explained that after they finally acquired money, he bought his daughters boxes of chocolates, and they labeled this gift of buying her a vanity for doing her makeup as an excessive gift that he would never have done previously. And other issues that they discussed concerning Kody was, when Kody started bragging about the amount of money that he pays for a coyote pass against all else, McKeely had said, well, you also didn't pay for any of your kids. You depended on all of your lives to pay for them. So Kody can talk all day about the money he spends, but he wasn't paying for his kids, and that is an expense that must be considered. He's obligated to care for children according to law. Up until yesterday, Kody has never been held accountable ever in a court having to be held to the standards of child support. So I don't know what the total amount he will pay per month is. But under Utah law, it says that parents have a legal duty to support their minor children. Unless a minor is emancipated, child support continues until the child is 18 or has completed high school. Whichever is later child is support for the use and benefit of the child. And in some cases, the court may order child support to continue after 18 for a disabled child who remains dependent. And once it's put in place by the court, it says all parties must obey court orders. Custodial pay parents may not withhold parent time, even if the child support is not being paid. A parent may not withhold child support, even if parent time is being denied. If a party does not obey a court order, the other party may file a motion asking the court to enforce the order. The enforcement order can include a judgment for money owed, and the court may also find a party in contempt of court and order the party to pay a fine or serve jail time. So once this is placed and put into an order, Kody has a monthly payment that he has to pay, and if he doesn't stay in compliance with that, Christine file an order with the court to enforce that he pays. If he agrees to whatever parenting time and agrees to having her at certain times, or if she wants to go visit or whatever it is, Christine can't withhold Truly. And I don't believe she ever would, but Kody has to comply. And if he doesn't comply, he can get in trouble, and parents can be jailed in Utah if they don't pay child support. And because it's all going to be designated through the court and through the court system, Christine also has the ability to go through Utah's recovery services to enforce and get money from him. And under the law in the state of Utah, you can be charged with what's called criminal non-support, and it can actually become a felony. And that is if the arrears exceeds $10,000 or if the obligation is unpaid for longer than 2 years. So if he gets to a balance of over $10,000, he can actually be charged with felony non-sub support. It's under Utah Code, Section 76-7-201. I'm sure that this entire process has been aggravating and unnerving for Christine, because not only has she been forced to pay for and support her children without any help from him, but also the stress and the toll it takes on truly to have this very tense relationship with a father that for all intents and purposes is a deadbeat dad, right? I mean, he just wasn't there for her. So what I like about this for Christine is that there's now a mechanism in place that she can use in order to enforce that he pays, and that mechanism to enforce is the possibility and the real threat of Kody going to jail if he doesn't pay. And what I also like about this is even though this can be very difficult for parents, And some moms and dads that go through this will go through the court system for years and have to fight to get paid. And then their SP, their ex-partner, or, the biological parent that doesn't have child custody never pays. I mean, and that's horrible. But there's at least now this mechanism in place, this threat that will make Kody have to comply. And Kody doesn't just get to decide whether or not he wants to contribute the way that he's been able to decide he was going to contribute or not, based on how his relationship was with his child and his wife. So what Kody did often was he would punish the wife that wasn't being obedient to him or that he didn't have a good relationship with, and so he would punish her by not being there for her kids. And then he would justify his lack of a relationship with the kids because of the wife not being a good, obedient wife, and blame the wife for his lack of being a father. This is what he did for years with Christine. He blamed her for the fact that he had no relationship with his kids. It's his responsibility as a father to be a father. She can't make him do that. And I think Christine's been very pragmatic and logical when she talks about this on the show. And what I see from her is she doesn't ever get in the middle of the relationships. And she always says she wants him to have a good relationship with his kids. But she can't make him do that. He has to do that himself. So now she's making him have to agree to a settlement. Right? The state of Utah will make him pay child support. Truly will be 18 in 3 years. So at least for the next 3 years, he is on the hook. We have no idea what kind of arrearage he might be getting. Like for if she's going to get money from the last 4 years, we also don't know what their settlement agreement is. But under Utah law, a settlement agreement is a legally binding contract that outlines the terms of the agreement between the parents regarding the child's custody, parent time, and child support. It's a written agreement that resolves the specific issues in dispute before they go to trial. It's legally binding, meaning it's enforceable by the courts if either party violates. It's comprehensive and it'll detail all the major issues related to that child. The court and the judge have to sign off on this to make it approved, and once approved, oftentimes these settlements will become public, so we might see that down the line. I don't know if we will, but once it's approved, the judge will make this enforceable, and that's when he really does not get a way out. And this being done this way, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Truly has a bigger say in this than she would have if she were younger. And I think she probably made it pretty well clear that she wants to stay with her mom. And I think it's good for Truly to be with her mom and be with her stepdad. And on the one hand, I'm glad that he's being held accountable for this. And I'm glad he's not being a jerk. But he has been a jerk for all these other years. So it kind of feels like a little bit too late. I also feel like the timing of this makes me feel a little bit suspect. Because the next episode coming is that Garrison passes away, and I feel like Kody's trying to get ahead of all of this damage control and the narrative because everything falls apart in the family once he died, and his relationships have suffered greatly, and he doesn't have contact with many of his kids anymore. So it's always just like too little too late, but he finally has the threat of jail if he doesn't pay, and that's not a threat he's ever had under any sort of law ever. So, I hope you got everything. So, what are your thoughts about this? Are you surprised that he came to an agreement? Are you happy for Christine? Tell me in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys.